As a pastor, although we may be older, what in your opinion, what do you think is the number one struggle of our youth today?
It is a culture. We ran into it, but for the most part, people were a little bit more conservative. They were more, God-minded and oriented. But now there's a culture that is designed to attack any kind of spirituality. Well, not really any kind, but they attack Christianity. Everything else is cool. You can be a secular humanist. You can be into aliens. You can say aliens came to the earth. You can say kidnapped by aliens and taken on you can say all of that. But once you say Jesus is Lord and Jesus saved my life, then you're an idiot and you're narrow-minded and all that stuff. The biggest struggles that I believe that teenagers and kids face today is, number one, peer pressure to not stand up for what's right. There is pressure. When you take a stand against what is wrong, then you are attacked. You are seen as narrow-minded. You're seen as bigoted. You're seen as weird. You're seen as a religious bigot. And the other thing, I think, is an identity crisis. There is a design by this culture, by the enemy, to steal our kids' true identity.
Yes, without a doubt.
It's an identity crisis, and with these, the pronouns and I can't even think of all the letters, LBQUGHT, I don't know, MOUSE,
I'm with you.
But there is a culture that is designed to steal the identity of our children. But you know what? If you go to the scripture, you think about it. Jesus, before he is born, it is announced who he is or who he would be. His name should be called Wonderful Counselor, Jesus, and Emmanuel, God with us. Okay? So the angels announce his identity, announce who he was. Then when he's 12 years old, it sounds like he knows his identity. It's like when his mother, remember he's talking to the doctors and so forth, and his mother's looking for him, and she finds him, and he says, don't you know that it's time for me to be about my Father's business? Sound like he knows I'm the Son of God. He knows that. And then when he's getting baptized, getting ready to start his earthly ministry, the Father speaks out of heaven to affirm him and say, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. So you get all of these to confirm who he is. Yet, when he's led of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil, where does the enemy attack him? In the area of his identity. If you be the Son of God, then do thus and so, do thus and so. And so I thought it was confirmed. I thought it was settled in his mind, in everybody's mind, in his mama's mind. Everybody, seemed like everybody, at least it should have been settled in Jesus' mind. Yet, for it to be a real temptation, it had to be something in him that was drawn to what the enemy was presenting. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Because you're tempted when you're drawn away of your own desires. You know what I'm saying? So it was something in him that maybe thought, am I really did I really hear my Father speak out of heaven? Am I really who my mama said I am? Am I really So there was a question of his identity, and it was effective in a sense because it appealed to him on some level. So if Jesus was attacked in the area of his identity, then it stands to reason that humanity, especially his children, would be attacked in the area of their identity, because the enemy don't want you to know who you were created to be, because if you ever realize who you're created to be, that's where your most effective ministry, your most impactful life, that's where your joy, that's where your fulfillment is, in you being who you were created to be. That's where it is. So the kids today are undergoing an identity crisis, and it's worldwide. It is worldwide.
It's not just big city America.
No.
It's rural America. It's not just America at all. It's like you say, worldwide.
It is worldwide. That the pressure to deny your identity, and then there are things that have been set up in people's lives that is designed to steal their identity. If you, and I'm not trying to be vulgar, but if you've been sexually abused, that can skew your perception of who you were created to be. And that can create a release of pain in you that is designed by the enemy to determine who you love, who you are comfortable with, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about life, how you feel about the opposite sex, how you feel about relationships. All of that is wrapped up in your pain. So people now, so many people are a product of their pain rather than a product of the promises of God or the purposes of God for their life. They are more, so many people, even in church, people are products of the painful experiences that they've had in their life. And I'll stop.
The people that I deal with in jail,
yeah,
statistically speaking, close to 70% of the females in prison and jail at some point in their young life suffered sexual molestation. And close to 50% of the men. Now, the women are a little bit more prone to share that,
right,
but the men won't share that
right
in a group setting, but they'll tell me things that nobody else in there knows.
But there was a man that worked as a missionary, worked with prostitutes on the streets. They would serve them coffee, try to build a relationship with them to try to lead them to the Lord eventually. But they wouldn't preach to them. They would give them donuts and coffee, even though they were on the streets. And he got to talk to them, hundreds of prostitutes. There was not one prostitute that would walk in the street that had not been sexually abused. Yeah. And most of them were sexually abused by a parent or a father who gave them money to try to keep them quiet and made them associate love with sex and money. That's love. I'm loving you. This is love. They were lying to them and they were skewing their perceptions of themselves. And so these women grow up thinking that that's what they're created for. And that's who they are. That's their true identity. And it's
so far from the truth.
So far from the truth. So far from the truth.